some sweet sounds. Birds and the bees are listening. The wind in the trees is dancing all around. Can you feel it? Here you are next to me, feeling like it's all a dream. Can you feel it? So good to be in this pocket of time. And who are you and what am I? Embodied, silly, divine. Flowers picked from the field. You can feel the growth is near. So good to be alive. In these pockets of time. Daisies growing in the garden, chocolate time with you, I saw it. So good to be alive. In these pockets of time.
It's lunchtime and the Brooklyn Cafe is open for business. Live from the Amp Media Studios, Dawn and Freddie S. and their team are ready to serve up a huge portion of fun for lunch with friends and neighbors. So let's break open that lunch pail and unwrap that sandwich you brought and take a front row seat in the Brooklyn Cafe and get ready to enjoy some humor and hot topics. It's time to get a healthy serving of hope and happiness to help your day go by with a smile. Your hosts, Dawn and Freddie S., are ready to talk about food, health, dating, or just plain dream making. If you have a story to share, movie review, restaurant critique, or just a coincidental thing that happened to you, call in toll free 888-994-4995, Studio A right now. Sit back and enjoy your lunch break at the Brooklyn Cafe. Here are your hosts, Dawn and Freddie S.
This song is called The Reaper, and although it's quite sad, it's actually a little bittersweet. I wrote it for a friend of mine who is mourning their father. And we all come across the Reaper. It's an unavoidable part of being human. And this song just opens up the dialogue about the gratitude we can have. The phone rang, and your smile changed. The look of pain right across your face. The look of death took its place, and all I can do is softly hold your hand while tears fall down like rain. The reaper comes always. Ooh, the reaper sows death, so love grows. Life forever flows. This life, it is short and sweet. Heart is bigger than we ever know. Our love is deeper than we ever show. Now it's raw and your heart's exposed. The reaper cut everything away. Just sit and embrace his pain. This life is short and sweet. Your heart is bigger than we ever know. Your heart is deeper than you ever show. And now you're raw and your heart's exposed. Stop being so sad and call your mom and dad. So love grows, life forever flows. Thank you.
I was waiting for more. I didn't expect that to be the end. Sitting here, I'm trying to, like the tears not to fall down from my face.
And it's funny because you got the painting behind you for the Reaper.
Ah, very nice.
The
What's
Reaper.
today, Wednesday?
All day.
Hump day, as they say.
All day, not hump day, but yes.
How'd you like that music?
I like it. What do we decide the name of the band was?
Metal Heart.
Metal Heart.
Metal Heart, a.k.a. them. The Dems.
Rustin and Brooke. She's almost like Brooke Lynn, but she's Brooke Renee, so she kind of feels like kismet that they're here.
Josh, he needs you for a second. Wait till you hear this, dude.
That's our combined name.
What is it, Bruston?
That's an interesting name.
Well, you know, Lynn Everard always sends us such great guests. And
Here's another interesting name.
and
You
we
guys would
got
be
this
lawn, I think.
Huh?
You guys would be lawn.
Lawn?
I'm sorry, fawn.
Fawn. That works.
Lawn, fawn,
Or
black
fawn.
car, who knows?
Fawn. It's all good.
Linguistics.
Yeah.
As long as it's not geriatrics, we're good.
She said that too.
I know.
I started to move in slow motion when she said that.
When she tells me who her best friend is, I'm like, yeah, you're about the same age as my daughter. I know.
I love that.
That's it. You and I just keep getting older and older. But she's good friends with Ashley Agaloff, who just had her second baby. I met Ashley. She's been with us for years. She does the thermography, the breast scans with
Oh,
the heat.
yes. Oh, it's been a minute. That's
Right.
4 years ago.
At least, right?
Yeah,
Two
I remember
babies,
that.
and it's been a little while.
She had 2 babies?
2 babies.
She had 2 kids?
Yes, yeah, she has a little baby boy now, and thermography is still an ever-present, up-and-coming technology, even though she's been at it for 8 years.
It's amazing. We've probably known her for 6.
It's funny, when she first came on, we had said to doctors, why aren't you using this technology? And there's reasons why it's not, and it's all about finances. But I thought that was the most coolest thing she did. She did it at the studio up in Del Rey. She did the hands and the feet and all
She's
that.
still doing it.
But I love your music, so I'm so glad that you're friends with so many of our friends.
Yeah,
So
likewise.
Saturday, I get this message from Brooke. I met you through Lynn Everard. I'm an artist. I'm a singer. Can I come be part of the show? And I said, sure. And I give her 2 dates.
Your microphone again. You see, it's you.
Why is it me?
Well, because you're like Mrs.
I'm
T.
not going
and you
anywhere,
got
though.
400 chains.
But I haven't
Mrs.
moved.
T.
You remember the A-Team?
Yeah.
You don't
Oh,
remember
yeah.
Don, Two
course.
Chains.
You remember
I pity
Mr.
the
T?
fool. Exactly.
You
yeah.
remember that.
Of
I don't know
course.
what to tell you guys. Anyway, let's try that way and see if that works. And then I get a message from Rustin saying, so I'm going to be there on Wednesday at 10:30. And I'm like, what? How did that happen? And then I go back, and I'm looking at Brooke, and I'm looking at Rustin, and I realize that they're partners and they do
That
this
they're
together.
just Rustin. Yeah.
You were talking to her, and then you were talking to him. And
Yes,
then you were
they were both sending us separate messages on Instagram.
talking to
I
and she
actually-
then, it's amazing she didn't blame me.
Yeah.
She blamed
And I
me.
didn't even tell you till this morning that they were coming.
Who found Lola?
I don't know. Grace. Grace.
Forgot about that.
Amazing Grace.
Amazing Grace
Amazing.
came here to say.
Amazing Grace. But I love your story. So tell us, you have an event coming up this Saturday
We do.
in Boynton Beach.
Yes.
Yes, at the Soul Oasis. It's going to be fun. It's a yoga studio and all kinds of awesome stuff. But essentially, what we're going to be doing is we noticed kind of, you want to do, yeah.
So when we love listening, just like you do, you know, there's a whole magic about listening to sound. And him and I are both kind of dissatisfied with the way that concerts are set up currently. When you go, there's a lot of distraction. There's a lot of non-attentive listeners. People are bumping into each other, drinking, talking. and-
Moshing.
Yeah, and sometimes the sound isn't good. Most of the instruments are tuned to 440 hertz, which is actually a dissonant tuning regimen. So we designed a show around making it all about the sound. And we include different elements to basically remedy our current sound situation in concerts. So we designed a show based on people having their own space in a dark room where the intent is to listen, and to listen with your fullness of being. So Rustin leads them through a pretty hilarious stretching routine, and I guide them into a little bit of breath work and basically just hyping up the physiology of the brain and all
Making
of our
you really present to the moment to
Yes.
enjoy the music.
kind of
essentially.
releasing everything in that you had at the door and coming into the Stargate. That's why we called this show the Stargate. So people can experience the sound. Like he walks around with his gong drum, actually, over
Yeah.
people.
Which it's funny. This is literally just a bass drum that I, kind of repurposed into this gong drum because I see a lot of people use these kind of like, gong drums and they play it over people and people have this really big effect. And I'm like, man, if I could just take that and make it more, like more is more, less is not more.
If you
So
want
I
to
could-
experience it, it's quite a powerful
Yeah,
drum.
it's big old. It literally just vibrates your head when you put it over you. So it's funny.
What I find so interesting is I know you do painting, and you're doing big murals, and into the arts and the holistic space. And then Rustin, he's like a heavy shredder, metallic kind of music guy. So all this is going on our chat on Instagram, and I'm thinking, all right, we're just going to see who comes
are
in
these
on Wednesday
weirdos?
and see really what happens here. But so how did you go from one? I feel like these are two separate extremes.
Yeah, in a strange way, it is for me. I've always, it's funny, like trying to fit into the metal world. People are like, oh, you're like some weird experimental jazz guy, and then trying to play with weird experimental jazz guys. They're like, oh, you're just a bonehead metal dude, and I'm like, well, I'm neither, But I think doing stuff like this, for me, music is like the whole spectrum of everything. It's not just like intensity all the time, It's like sometimes relaxing spaces and chill spaces and meditational spaces, or music is everything in a lot of ways. And I think combining the seemingly opposite ends of the spectrum, because that's debatable too, not to get into a whole diatribe, it really, has this thesis, antithesis, synthesis. So we're kind of like bringing it all together. And
That's
you'd
what
love
I'm
to see it.
thinking. It's true, right? Because music is energy. So
Yeah.
you think they're opposite ends, but they're really not. It's music, it's vibration.
Yeah,
it's
literally
feeling.
vibration.
You lost him at thesis, hypothesis, and synthesis. The issus, I watched him go, oh no.
The Smith is
You know, it's funny when you were talking about getting the crowd involved. I think you were gonna have them like when we were in high school. So you guys go and you guys goes So when I point to you, you guys do your segments.
Yeah.
I've had a vision of giving everybody a noisemaker.
You know something?
Like chimes and shakers and
There was
keeping
a-
them on beat.
There was a time that I used to give people bells.
We have all the little bells.
And everybody used to play the bells. You know how they used to, in New York, they used to go like this to, instead of applauding, they do
Yeah,
this thing.
the
So I used to
snaps.
do that with the bells. And then I used to point. and people would play the bells. So I thought you were going to do that to get people more involved.
There's infinite ways the show can develop. We've already had, we built out a bigger show in December and decided it wasn't the right time to release it, but it could get quite theatrical when you think of it not being about the musician, right, and it becomes about the frequency. Particularly, like, we tuned our instruments to 432 hertz, which is a very resonant frequency for our physiology to experience. We don't really know what sound is in this day and age. And all over the world, he's played all over the world. I'm very lucky to have him work on this project with me because it's kind of lived in my soul and his soul for a while. But we haven't really been exposed as Americans to all the music that we have. It's very tuned to not be what it could be. And that's what we're excited to explore, and it will be infinite, I'm sure.
You know, it's interesting that they're here because in this, we know guys that make bottles of wine. Chico makes bottles of wine that captures singers' frequency, and they put it into the wine.
Yep.
He's been here. As you could tell, we have a couple of artists, including Lola, who's in the studio today. And all of these pieces of art is frequency. And there is, when I walk in here, I hear them play. So when things are moved around, if my main man here doesn't break my lights, but when things are moved around, it changes the music. So in here, what I hear when you guys sing is them in the background and you guys singing. Now, I remember when I first put up what I like to call my sound booth over there, which is an actual sound booth that we use to record music. And my partner here says, what are you doing? And this is what it told me to do. So I get the frequency thing. I get
You're the wizard.
And I understand where you're going
He's
with
the
Metallica
wizard, yes.
because sometimes you have to up your frequency to appreciate
Yeah,
the lower sounds.
that's true.
And you're mixing and matching, and your brain works. This Amadeus, I think it was one of them famous artists, he only thought in music.
Yeah,
So it was hard for him to listen to people because he heard the music in his head.
it was really interesting. It's cool too, I think, with not only music but in any type of art. It's almost like if you have, like you were saying with the frequency, if you have especially an intent that you're putting into it, say like a painting, that can be imbued in the painting or the piece of art, and then when you re-experience that art, you know, just from listening to it or looking at it, kind of separating yourself from the thing that you created, it's almost like a gateway back to the mindset or the thing that you put into it, which can actually change over time too, but it's almost like a magical portal back into that headspace or whatever you were trying to create. And there's a really amazing artist and all kinds of weird things he was. This guy, Austin Osman Spare, a long time ago, who he would draw like automatic drawing in the dark and really all kinds of amazing paintings. And he talked about that a lot, how it was kind of like this gateway back into whatever it was that he was feeling at the time. And like you said too, sometimes you got to let the canvas talk to you a little bit before you
Well,
find out
it
what it
has
wants,
frequency.
You know
so-
the cards where you can press the button and it plays music, or you can record your voice?
Yeah.
Imagine if you had that on your paintings.
Right.
So, right, and you infuse it with the music that maybe you were listening to at the time that inspired the painting. Remember how you added the braille to
Yeah.
the shorthand? You could actually add the musical piece, which is a little music box, I'm sure,
You just invented something.
to your painting, right? So you bring that whole sense. So when people look at it, they actually understand the energy and feel where the artist created from. Because Lola, you talk all the time that you paint through music.
I also lately, I don't know if you checked on my YouTube or Facebook, I started adding music and
Yes.
special effects and the movement. I downloaded this Motion Leap app and start like creating the movement within my.
That piece over there, you did it
Yes,
to movement.
And I
was
love
looking at
what
it.
I'm creating now. Like it gives another dimension. But yes, talking about portals, everything in my art is pretty much reflection or projection of the state of mind I'm in, my own spiritual journey into who I am. Every painting has a story, but I would like other people to see also what they see. I mean, you want me to talk about my paintings now?
We're going to do that on the other side of the commercial, but that's how we can bring all energies together in the arts.
So you go up to a painting and you touch it. Maybe you have your drum instrument play a note and you feel the vibration, like somebody who's blind feels vibration.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, you're taking art to
Can
another
I like
level.
patent that on TV right now?
You better call now. Just 5,000 people are watching.
Taking my
now.
idea.
Yeah.
But-
Well,
but
there's
it's-
also cymatics. I don't know if you've heard of that too, where you're literally able to stain the sound wave so you can see it. So people will, like, I hit this drum or I talk or whatever, I burp loud by accident, like it makes a literal wave of sound. And a lot of times they'll have this, it's a flat surface and they'll put sand or rice or something on it. And underneath it play different frequencies or just, a note. And whatever that note is, it takes this shape, but the only way to see it is if it's, say, in water or some non-Newtonian fluid, or the sand will actually, when you push this sound wave or note through it, kind of show you what the sound wave itself looks like by the sound wave essentially stains the sand into position
I've
so you can
seen
see
that.
it.
I've seen that.
Yeah.
I've seen that.
And then imagine being able to and that's what the yantras were. People, they said they would sit in the desert and vibrate and then, draw these things in the sand. I mean, it's cymatics. It's the same thing. Like you're literally vibrating a note and seeing the sound wave. So imagine putting that in a piece of art or something. That'd be pretty cool.
It's interesting because in production, it's all sound waves as well as the video.
Right.
And I used to sit in the dark. I used to be in a dark room. And it was just the computer, and the people were in another room where it was all lit up. And this one said to me, why are you sitting in the dark? And today, that question is being answered because there's a different vibration in the dark than there is in the light. There's a different vibration inside than there is outside. The object of the aim is to capture what you want that vibration to do with your music, with your sound. It's why you opened up with the bell. I mean, all these things go in my head, and I'm trying to share the show out, and I'm saying, I remember that, and I remember that. And so Dawn says, come on, you got to get out of the dark. I says, you don't understand.
I'm being a light
It's the
in the
way
dark.
I hear things.
Yeah.
I see things, but I hear things on vibration. As a kid, it's always been that way for me.
That's why we're always in the dark here.
That's why we're always in the dark. That's why I bring in all the strobe lights and everything else in here, because they're in the
And he
dark and it
turns off
says
the
it can't
lights.
see. And Dawn keeps running into things.
Literally.
But I can see better. I can hear better in the dark, if that makes any sense.
Well, your autonomic nervous system is responsible for how your brain interprets information.
Am I who? What?
Your autonomic nervous system. It's so
Oh,
we have
really?
electricity that animates our forces, right? And when we start to remove the stimulation, like we do our show, a majority of it in the dark, just because of this exact philosophy that you're saying, it focuses all of your energy on what's most important. So when you start to remove stimulus, everything slows down and the nervous system isn't processing 1,000 things at a time. It starts to process less and less. So you're more present and engaged with each little thing.
And you call that what? I'm a who?
Your autonomic nervous system.
Autonomic.
Yeah, the next level of cymatics, actually, Stanford just came out with a study, and they're suspending cells inside of fluid and then creating Hertz notes to recreate heart tissue. And this is the future. The future is all vibration.
Are
and
you
sound.
a music major, PhD person?
We're just nerds.
We are
But
super
you guys work
geeky.
with
Just
sound
nerds?
healing. Don't you do sound healing as part of this whole process?
It kind of is in that way.
Yeah.
We tacitly. Put
I
that
try
out there.
to stay away from the sound healing world. It's got sound healing actually has a great following and market inside of South Florida. There's a lot of good sound healers out there that have educated people on the benefit of frequency injected into your body in a tissue way. I'm trying to create this being more as like an intimate sound experience, just because we want to be non-denominational. We don't want people to say, "Oh, you have to be woo-woo to experience sound." So I'm trying to stay away
We're a
from
little
the
woo-woo.
sound
It's
You
healing
have to be
world.
woo-woo to experience sound?
But the name of your show on Saturday is called Lullabies in Concert.
Yeah, it's Enter the Stargate, and really we're gonna just stretch you, make you breathe super deep, get you really, really present, more present than most people have probably experienced in a while, and then play them rich sound waves over their body, which most musicians don't experience. Live guitar in your ear, or a saz, or a gong drum, or chimes, or old Russian shakers. Or a ukulele made of birch. Like, there's so many instruments that we try to expose people to simply so they can feel the beauty and the magic of sound and vibration.
Well, that
Yeah.
was the secret to Jimi Hendrix.
He
That was
just
the
washed
secret.
everybody over with the waves of sound.
He
'cause they
knew
were all
something
on drugs
nobody,
and
and he
loud.
did it all the time.
Right.
And that's the difference also with the guy that played the ukulele. What was his name with that voice that drove me
Tiny
insane?
Tim?
Oh, the
Tiny
giant
Tim.
Hawaiian guy?
Tiny Tim.
Yeah. Oh, Tiny Tim.
Remember Tiny Tim?
Oh yeah.
He took,
Tiptoe through the tulips.
but it was the instrument vibration that captivated the Beatles. If you listen to the Beatles sound today, back in the day, that sound vibrated.
There
Made
was a
everybody-
fusion of a lot of different kinds of style. Like they had
And George Martin.
yeah,
or
they
whatever,
had the Indian saz players and jazz players, and that's what we're kind of hoping to bring to this fusion is two opposite vantage points, looking at the same pocket of time and trying to create magic there for
And
people.
really bringing people, I think, like the stretching and the breathing and the darkness and everything really brings people like very present. Whereas like normally, you know, we're at a concert, everybody's like drinking and it's loud and the musicians are 100 yards away. You know, this we're going to be like, like, you know, vibrating people.
He does Truvian throat singing.
Yeah, the
it's
tube
like
and
a,
throat singing. I'm not going to do it right now, but yes.
How do people get tickets for the event?
So they can hit us up on our Instagram, on our Facebook. It's the Order of the Red Rose. Also, there's the Eventbrite page,
They got a
which
lot of
is
the Eventbrite page is really the enter
What
the
are the Red
Stargate.
Rose? What else? Who else?
Eventbrite?
Well, no, who
This
else?
this new project has been a little. We've been playing with the name still, but really it's just all about enter the Stargate.
We have to come up with a
Enter the
name
Stargate. I like
before
it.
you leave. That's
a name
an
before you leave.
event.
So much
about
pressure,
nail it down
Freddie.
to the
It's
name.
so much pressure.
it's fun.
I want a name. I want to be able to put the name in the proposal, so I need a name.
It is
Heard.
Enter the Stargate.
That's the name?
That's the name of the event that
No,
we
no,
do.
the name of the group.
Metal.
Metal Heart.
It's Metal Heart.
Metal Heart.
Calling it
Metal
that.
Heart?
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, let's go to commercial break, because I want to know what the hell that means. I get all this vibration. I get Metal Heart.
It's because he's metal and she's heart.
There you go.
It's like,
You
Right.
you
Like a heart.
you put that together?
yeah, that's kind of like the blending of like us, Frawn. They're metal heart. Frawn.
We're Fraud?
Freddie and Dawn, Frawn.
I never heard this before.
He just said it before we went on air. What are you talking about?
He made this word up recently called the.
I thought that was one of
Yeah.
his big words. I don't know what he's.
It's the blessing and the curse put together.
The blurs.
the blurs.
The blurs.
That's marriage.
Yeah. I'm
He's
a
a-
dad, so I have these dad jokes that could just come out.
Blessing and the curse is marriage, right?
Wow.
All right, let's take a
I'm
commercial
spinning.
break.
Spinning, I tell you, Lucy. Spinning.
Check it out. This event is on Saturday night, April 29th. What time?
It's from 4 to 6 p.m.
4 to 6 at Solo Oasis. More to come. Stay tuned, and we'll be right back.
Known for his Art Deco Cubist style and compositions with dancing saturated color, Ken Bieberman has lived and breathed art his whole life. From the early 80s, he's influenced the Art Deco district of Miami Beach. Featured in numerous restoration projects, hotels, galleries, and clubs, Bieberman creates for everyday folks and celebrity clientele. He's also the proprietor of Art Repro, a giclée and scanning company in Pompano Beach. When it comes to scanning high resolution, size is not an issue. Professionally scanning art up to 10 feet and 64 inches in width, Art Repro utilizes state-of-the-art equipment. On quality canvas or paper, archival ink and printing mediums are put to use. Art Repro ensures colors are true and every nuance of the art is captured, including the canvas weave. Perfection is the priority. Contact artist Ken Bieberman today at 954-547-0095 or visit his website www.artrepro.net.
Being a successful woman in business means having the courage to own who you are. We understand the challenges faced by women, and we are here to help. Our team is here to develop the best strategy designed just for you. Your path is unique, and with the right tools, you can accomplish your dream. From radio to TV, from podcasting to magazines, we create the visibility to amplify your impact in business. At New Dawn Media, we are here to help bring your message forward and help your business flourish. It is time for your message to be seen and your voice to be heard. Contact us at 866-224-5422 or brooklyncafe.tv. Your voice can make a difference.
Le Sorel Restaurant, home of the authentic Italian tradition, offers a large menu that consists of seafood, steak, homemade pasta, brick oven pizza, and homemade desserts including a wide wine selection. We also have the best bar in Boca Raton with delicious cocktails, homemade limoncello, cappuccino, Italian espresso, brandy, and other specialties. Open every day with a lunch and dinner menu. For more information or to make a reservation, contact lesorelrestaurant.com or call 561-235-5301.
There is no way to ignore it. You hear it on the news, online, from your friends and family. What happened to my money? Whether it got hit by falling stocks and bonds, with the coronavirus, shrunk by a floundering 401k with low interest rates, and is riding the extreme ups and downs of the stock market with political elections. Many Americans are worried about their money and how they're going to retire. Help protect your financial future now and call J.D. Mellberg for your complimentary book from a leading financial firm that shows you ways not to run out of money whether the market goes up or down. This free book reveals little-known truths about annuity strategies in simple-to-understand terms that can protect your money for a lifetime. As a bonus, we'll also throw in a free annuity rate report summarizing the rates and benefits of annuities from hundreds of top-rated insurers, helping you to find ways to get up to 33% more income in retirement. That's right. 2 books, both absolutely free, for calling J.D. Mellberg. Help protect your financial future.
Call 877-643-3015.
Are you compromising your medical care for doctors out of your network? Are you tired of dealing with referrals to see a specialist? Are you aware that you can save up to $155 a month on your Medicare premiums? You need an all-in-one benefits company that can help with all of your Medicare plan needs. Call today, All-in-One Benefits Group at 954-614-5488. We're here to find an all-in-one plan for you. 954-614-5488. Call today for open enrollment.
Do you have an idea for a show or a podcast? Do you want the opportunity to be on TV? Amp Media Productions is partnered with True Oldies Real Radio Station and powered by many online platforms such as Roku, Facebook, YouTube, and even Amazon Fire to help amplify your impact. Do you want your voice to reach a wide audience? Call us today at 866-224-5422.
South Florida's Good Time Oldies. Now, Boca and Delray Beach have their own oldie station. Catch us on 95.3 FM. It's the greatest rock and roll hits of the 60s and 70s. On South Florida's Good Time Oldies, 95.3 FM.
You've been watching the Brooklyn Cafe Show. Join us each day and after hours as we talk about the hot topics to open the conversations and share a few laughs. Now, back to Dawn and Freddie S.
And we're back. I love all the stuff.
I always
going on.
have Josh going in my head.
I love the stuff going on.
You know, when you come back and you go that music bed in my head is Josh's voice.
Of all the things in your life, that's what you remember? And yes, ladies and gentlemen, in the background, Lewis is hanging some art in the background, so you may hear the drill. Don't worry about it. It's just vibration.
Just vibration and energy.
It's just vibration.
As we keep talking about vibration and energy, we've got our in-house artist, Lola Angelini, joining us. How do you like that whole idea of putting a piece of music to her art, like she does on social media, to inspire everyone to feel what she felt when she painted?
I think it's kind of cool. But you have to capture the right sound.
Well, if you go to where I posted, I think I post on Facebook. Yeah, you can kind of get an idea. Over there, it's pre-recorded, so you can just select the soundtrack that I think matches the vibration. And it's really beautiful, I think. Check it out. And I don't know how you're going to incorporate it here, but it might be possible.
Oh, honey, you have no idea.
With him, you never know.
Or you can just shoot it straight from my YouTube channel.
You know, they sell a light that moves the art. You used it on the computer, so you sort of floated that piece. They sell it because when I was in Orlando, you put on the 3D glasses and the light changes the movement of things. So I've been thinking about this for a while now. So you come in here, you
I
get a
heard
pair
a
of
gasp.
glasses.
That's Karen.
Because it's true, right? You've seen it. Yes. Yes. Yes.
Yes, you can
Yes.
create the whole experience around the sound, darkness, all the lights that you already have it here.
Yes, Josh, you need a microphone. Yes.
Am I
He's
good
gotta go
with
up
the
Lewis.
sound?
But even Josh heard about this. So you combine sound with music.
That was close, guys. We tried.
People just running by. But sound and music, and you come in with the 3D glasses, and all of a sudden you get an experience, right?
Yeah.
Now in theaters, when I was sitting in the chairs that you sit in, there's all sorts of things happening. So you get all these. Yes. You were there?
I went there.
Ah.
I've taken the kids to watch a movie there. It's fun.
It's really, really, really cool the way they do it. I remember when I was growing up, there was something called the Twin Towers in Sensoron. Twin Towers? No. What was it? The Burning Towers?
That's the Leaning Tower of Pisa.
No, there was something about these two big buildings like the World Trade Center. This is going way before the World Trade Center. And they had these chairs, and you sat in them in the movie theater, in the lowest paradise on Fordham Road. And it used to vibrate the chair. And you used to go, and your buttocks were vibrating.
That's like
and you used
4D.
to go, oh my God, what is this?
That's IMAX. The
That is
IMAX
now.
experience.
Now, yeah, but back in the
She's
day,
like
they
your best audience.
she knows what I'm talking about. Back in the day, they started with chairs. You know what I'm saying? So if I could afford to put in chairs in here, so that if you hear a bell, you get a vibration. What are you laughing at? Pay attention. We're doing a show here. Where
I'm
you
paying
going?
attention. I'm just watching.
Her attention span is like this big.
I'm watching.
He's watching. How's it look?
Just a second. Turn around. Take a look.
I don't know. How's it look? I don't go by what I look.
How's it look?
God.
They're all looking.
All right.
I feel like I need a picture, and they're all like looking of everything. They're looking at the other side of the theater. They're hanging some artwork. Do you see this? This is like amazing right here.
Well, then you're putting one on each side, right?
Just capturing the moment for everybody here at the Brooklyn Cafe Show. It's the conversation that they are having as far as rehanging artwork. Lola, how do you like this conversation? Why don't we go to a commercial break? Play some music. When we come back, we've got some more with Lola Angelini joining us on the other side of this break. Stay tuned, and we'll be right back.
Born in Marseille, France, Max Lazega creates whimsical and free-flowing interpretive art. His 40 years in the construction industry created the foundation for his craft. His unique work displays his view of the future with bold and playful combinations of materials and processes, but the methodology remains consistent. He fuses recycled materials and discarded building supplies into a fresh, well-executed approach. Lazega has lived in Miami, Florida most of his life, where he pursues his lifelong passion of creating industrial art. For more information, contact Max Lazega at artworkstudios.org or 786-326-8873.
Meet Jay Harmon, one of the many artists held in the Brooklyn Cafe Gallery. Jay specializes in various different art styles, but his medium to work with is colored pencils. His unique style comes from being self-taught and years of practice. Jay pulls his inspiration from many outlets like people, television, celebrities, and many more. With multiple original pieces, Jay's art graces the gallery with over 40 plus works for viewing and for purchase. His many years of being an artist has given him a chance to partner with the Derwent brand, giving him the opportunity to try many different work styles and further his craft. Feel free to come down and visit the studio to view his work, or if you're interested in your own Jay Harmon original, he's open to commissions on his website, coloredpencilartist.com, or catch his show, The Colored Pencil Artist, on Amp Media Productions on YouTube and Facebook. See you soon.
Listen, by the way, if you call in right now, you saw the commercial, 888-994-4995 Studio A, you win 2 tickets to Sunfest.
Ooh. Give us a call. What's that number?
888-994-4995.
And you win tickets to where?
Sunfest.
2 tickets.
2.
$90 value. 4. Ooh, Josh, I got a present for you. That is for Saturday, May 6th. Check it out, Sunfest. 2 free tickets. Compliments of Oldies, True Oldies, South Florida, 95.3 and 96.9, 888-994-4995.
And there's a whole bunch of other stations, 106.9, HD1, the whole 9. It's all
That's a
up there.
gift for Josh.
For Josh?
Mhm.
Why?
He's the only one that knows how to use it.
What is it?
It's a new green screen.
That's not a gift. That's the artist that you invited in.
No, there's a big box that someone just brought in.
There's 2 artists.
There are 2 artists?
Yeah.
Who's here?
2 artists. The green screen don't come in anything like that. Anyway.
Sure it does. Oh, no, maybe not. I don't know. It folds
Aye.
up. Anyway, we got to talk to Lola.
Lola, save me, please. Save me.
You're always confusing me. You're like everywhere.
Yeah,
my mind,
She's always confusing you?
my mind is very still to like.
You can't be still as a creative. Yeah, as a creative. Your mind has to be all over the place too, no?
Well, it's a wild stillness.
Wild stillness. That's like controlled chaos. I love it.
Yes, kind of, yeah. So my art is about, well, this particular, I have all kind of styles, I would say, or themes. But this particular 6 paintings revolve around, I title it Raised Vibrations. And they revolve around my spiritual journey, and every painting has a topic, starting from oneness to ascension to cosmic consciousness to samadhi to rebirth to a birth of a soul that's left. I don't know if you guys showing
say
my
the
art.
artist?
They're going to change the camera, show the camera, so they're going to be able to show some of your art.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I got new website, Lola-1111. How do you like it?
Lola
Freddie.
Lola-1111. It's the .square site that gets complicated, but
Lola.
Yeah.
Lola. Is it LOLA-1111?
1111.
Yeah, 1111.
Wait a minute, but you have to have the dash.
Yes, they didn't have available without dash, so
And this is the website?
yes.
.square site.
It's a little shorter from before.
It's a lot shorter from before.
Yeah.
You know, you should
Eventually-
you should really come see me. Because that Lola.site. Okay. That's a screw.
That's a vibration in the back.
That's the vibration. That's the drummer man drumming. It drives her crazy. But I love control chaos because it's moving. As they say, it moves in every direction. Josh, were those the artists that walked in? Those 2 gentlemen, or they delivered something?
They delivered a B&H.
They delivered a B&H screen?
Yes.
2 guys?
I told you.
2 guys?
You made up this whole. If only I had a jacket
Put on Positive Direction. Tell them to play the song Positive. We're going to play a song for you guys because Lewis is driving me insane. It's funny because it only happens when she's going to talk to me. You notice that?
Perfect.
God has
Planned it, didn't you?
God has a plan, baby.
So, Don.
No, because she's about to yell at
What
me.
you tell me it was like the perfect between what I tell marriage was is those 2 words.
Yeah, the
The
blurs. The blessing curse.
The blessing curse. Marriage. Just when I talk, it goes off.
You know, I'm going to have to walk with these people. They're going to have to come live with me. I love that saying.
Yeah, it's a good word.
It's the best. Don't
Go
get
ahead and
married.
take full credit for that one.
Who? You take full credit?
Yes.
I mean, things just come out of my mouth, and sometimes she's like, "Whoa, that's good," and I'm like, "What did I say?"
Well, the wizard always wants to transform spaces, right? And the wizard doesn't really know how to touch things and not transform them.
That's him.
That's the blurs.
That's the
It's the
blurs.
blessing curse.
You are the wizard. There is no doubt. I've called you the wizard for years.
Where's the drill when I need it?
I've called you the wizard for years. He has visions and he builds like castles in the sky.
Whoa.
And he's always moving energy and he's always doing, and now we're bringing the castles back down to earth a little bit.
First of all, she got the castle in the sky from somebody else.
No, it was from your horoscope.
From my horoscope.
Look,
I think that sounds like a song.
Castles in the sky.
That's right. And I got angry because I says, my castles are all on the ground. But
Sand.
the visions are in the sky.
That's
Look who's
exactly-
in the house. You got Arthur in the house.
It's
You
a
gotta
All right.
pull them out of the ether and put them into the ground, you know? Sand castles from the sky.
Have you written books, you guys? Made a movie or something? Does LA
It's
know
a
about you
theatrical
guys?
production that we are creating all the time, even when we're just cooking in the kitchen.
And
Pancakes
you guys
being
are
delivered.
like reading book geeks type of people?
Yeah.
He read me poetry last night until I fell
I
asleep.
did. What is it? The Rubaiyat of Omar Khayyam or something?
If you
Yeah,
haven't,
Rubaiyat.
Yeah, it's an
Yeah.
interesting book I was
How'd you guys
gifted.
meet?
How did we meet?
I actually got an art commission from a famous drummer that owns a restaurant north of here, and he had a commission for me to paint his drum kit. And I was like, listen, that sounds great, but I've never painted a drum kit, so let me just practice on one. And I found him a local, I thought I knew all the drummers in the area because I love live music and
Drummists.
certainly need drums in my life. So I saw, we had mutual friends, and I was like, hey, I see that you're endorsed by a drum company. I had no idea who he was or who he had played for. I was like, here's a resource for what I need. And he's like, yeah, sure, come over. I have like 9 million in my garage left over from something. Just
You have
paint me
9
one.
million drums?
Just so too many, all the drums.
He has drum kits that are larger than you've ever seen. Double bass drums with 27 cymbals. I remember the first time he brought me to his studio, I was like, you don't hit all of these. These are just, for show. And he hits
grew
all of
8
them.
more arms and that. No.
So I grabbed a drum kit from him, and then we've been hanging out ever since.
So a drum kid did it for you.
Yep.
Man,
That was my lock-in
Is
prop.
that your
I
secret?
got her with the drums.
Is that your secret weapon, the drum kit?
Yeah,
Josh,
just
imagine
like,
if-
check it out.
Imagine
Josh.
Josh with 28 drum
Josh,
kits.
get a drummer. Get a drummer.
Yeah, get some drums. Come on.
Yeah, something about drumming and
Feel
rock
the
and roll
vibration.
bands.
If I were to set up like a drum all around the studio and tell people, what do they call those big drum things? And you run and you
Drum
hit them?
fill. So they did this quite a while ago. It was Drumeo, I think, is like the studio that has all kinds of educational percussion stuff. And they set up toms, like maybe 100 of them throughout
Yep.
their entire studio, and had somebody run through and play
And you
a
hit 'em.
never-ending drum fill. Yeah, exactly. Hawaii 5-0.
I like that idea. Can you see 100 drums in here?
Yes.
It'll drive you nuts.
I know a drummer.
That's what's driving me nuts down there on the floor.
I got the hookup on
That's
the drum.
nothing. And he got the hookups. They're just sitting in your garage,
do.
right? Can you imagine? Welcome, Arthur. You walk in. Here's your sticks.
It's like
And you
Blue
go
Man
crazy hitting them drums.
It's like Blue Man Group. Only there's paint
Do
that
like
goes
a
everywhere.
drum circle here.
A drum. Well, don't you do drum circles?
I'm not a huge fan of the drum circle, to be honest
The answer
with you.
is yes. Yes.
Yes.
Ratings, baby.
But
Ratings.
when I
Yes.
click on your Instagram, there's an Eventbrite that takes me to you. That's an organizer for drum circles.
Oh, so that was that. Yes. So that was a workshop and drumming event. It was more focused on like
How to be a blast beat metal drummer.
extreme metal drumming, which is requires a high level of intensity and endurance and all the fun things. But yeah, essentially, it's like a drum clinic. So people show up. We stretch them similarly to what we do. I make everybody stretch and do yoga for an hour, and then we do warm-ups on practice pads, and then I run through ideas about drumming. So, this is how you do this technique, or any questions, and yada yada. And then I also play the drums. So it's kind of a class in a way. It's a master class on crazy metal
I
drumming.
want to build a stage. I'm going to take all this out. I'm going to put a stage here around
Please,
stage
let's start on the 12 o'clock hour.
any minute. And I'm going to put an artist with a canvas. And then I'm going to put the drums around the artist.
To just torture them the whole time
And
they're
we're going to
creating.
I think
play.
Lola would like it, though.
We're going to play the drums while she paints.
Yeah.
Nice.
The piano, the drums, the little ding,
So a
ding, ding.
literal drum circle
Yes.
surrounding an artist.
Exactly.
I like
And then
that.
we film it. And then you film and watch what comes of it.
Oh man.
There's people that I know that do this for a living, and they charge $5,000 a dinner for you to sit there and watch it. The guy you know is he paints upside down and he turns it right side up and it becomes a painting. a face, a person. Whatever. He paints it upside down
Michael
based on
Israel.
music.
Yeah, he's pretty amazing.
But I would like to see an artist come up with a piece with that kind of vibration around them. And I bet you that the artist will tell you, I can't even duplicate this because it's being done under a different
spell.
What do you think,
Well-
Lola? For you, it probably is, right?
I don't know. I probably would be brain freeze or something.
I think you
don't
just
know.
put a big canvas on the floor, just like a tarp.
Like my space, I work on I have a wonderful sanctuary where I live. I have, I work on my terrace, birds, squirrels, nature sounds. I mean, it's so blissful. So I don't know how the drums will do.
Lola, I'm going to have you spinning. The thing spins.
Spin what?
A stage.
Spinning
It's
like a
gonna be
drill.
Turning.
Yes.
Not spinning, because that's too fast.
Turning like a drill.
So you
Slowly
make it even more difficult
turning.
for me.
Because the object of the game is to distract you from the drums while you paint this canvas.
Distract me from my
You're
mind.
You're gonna
to be
paint from your
connected.
feelings. I mean, you do it anyway, but I want to see if I change it up and I put cameras on you, what it would look like.
Just the most
I'm probably
intense
gonna
thing
have
for her
heart attack.
In a
possible.
non-controlled situation, like we could set it up in the parking lot, just
Come
a big
on,
tarp,
paint.
and just
We'll
with
put
drums.
we'll put a tent. We have a tent. We'll put her under the tent, and we'll have her paint under it. But I want it to turn. It's easy to paint anywhere standing
So then
still.
you do it.
You do it.
I will. I'll do stick figures. I'll do a dog and a house and stick figures. I can't paint. Now, I got to tell you who can paint
Ooh.
and who can play the piano,
Ooh.
and she
my
doesn't do it.
No.
She
Can she
doesn't
paint the
do
piano?
it.
Oh, we
I,
will
I did clean it though.
Her music
I
was in the
dusted it.
chair, inside the chair. So when her mother, when she sent over the piano, I opened up the bench. It said, Dawn and Dawn. I said, I thought you said you didn't play. Give me that. And she took it out of here. And your daughter ratted you out. She says she learned all her, and she's an artist from you.
You make all this up.
Call her right now, bet your dollar.
Yes, my daughter is an artist.
So are you, she told me. But you don't do it.
No.
See? She
I
don't
leave
have
it,
enough
I leave it to
vibration.
the professionals to do it.
We should
I
hang you
think-
upside down.
I think everybody's
With
an
drums.
artist.
See, right? Everyone has the ability to
love it,
paint
Freddie.
and create.
She's going to ignore
Right?
me.
Arthur, do you
I would do
paint?
it.
She's going to ignore me. She ignores things that she doesn't want to talk about.
Yeah.
But she
I
hears
know about that.
everything. You and I will have a conversation. She'll hear the whole thing. But I'm going to hang her from her feet. I'm going to put drums around her and bang it out.
That's kind of how I feel right now.
He says, are you going to paint
two
or not?
paintbrushes, one in each hand, and just spin really fast. It's awesome.
Like a pinata.
While somebody just bangs
see
on the
what you
drums
got.
with like bones or something. It's really
I
aggressive
used to
for
go
no
to
reason.
Playland. They used to put that in that spinning thing and used to take the ketchup bottles.
Right, you can
paint,
do that with regular paint and the drums.
Spin art.
a
Spin art.
Live human being spin
Human
art.
spin art.
You'll be
I'm kind of into that whole idea.
Yeah, just get me real dizzy and see what I come up with, you know? It's great.
Lola thinks we're nuts today.
Controlled
Lord,
chaos.
Louis, you're driving me
Yeah.
crazy, Louis. How's it look now?
It's good now, guys.
It
better?
actually, yeah, it looks quite better. You can see the bottom of the
Yeah,
letters.
you could see
It's
the-
lovely.
It doesn't
Yeah.
look better. It looks quite better.
Quite better than
Quite
it looked
better.
before. I'm saying it looked good before. Now
See,
it looks
from
even better.
my view, I'm watching you all look over there. No idea. I've got the eyeballs right up there over my head. You know what then I think of?
We're all pointing behind you, gasping in horror. What's
no, then I
that?
think
Oh
of all
my
the dust
God.
that's on the floor that I got to go clean.
Oh, Lord.
Oh, Lord have mercy.
All right, shall we take a break? Because we got some.
Yes, we got
Lola,
Arthur.
how do we get again? What's that long email? You got?
Lola-1111 .square.site.
For all of Lola's artwork. But it's a whole lot easier just to find
gotta
her on
communicate.
social media because she puts her art to music and vibration, and you can actually see the souls come to life through your art, which I love how you've put that together.
And you will go to somebody's house, get the feel right for the canvas, and then sort of tell them, okay, this is what I feel, and you could do it also for the wall, right?
Yeah, sure.
I could tell because that's how when I first met her, I said I wanted to put it somewhere when you walk in. Your art is
You gave me an
inspiration.
idea, and
And the bigger the
meditated
pieces, the
on it
better.
and
Now we're gonna put
created.
vibrational drums and everything to it.
how about just cut all the sensory perceptions and just leave vision alone and just perceive it through your eyes.
To see it through your eyes.
For now. And then we can start.
You know, we
maybe
can create something like that. If people sit down and they put glasses on and says, tell me what you see.
You already see it.
What do you see? Let me paint it.
But see beyond, because we are born and we have a filter over our eyes. Now, everything we see is through this filter. So try to see really with your heart, not with your, mind.
That is the secret.
I'm
See
sure
it?
Yeah, I do optical illusion murals.
course
So
you do.
I'm always trying to play tricks with
What are you, a magician?
that.
Magician.
It's
A magician.
life is endlessly fascinating. Particularly if you stay away from TV, there's just kind of endlessly fascinating things.
I get most
Except
of
for
my
the Brooklyn
comic
Cafe,
stuff from TV. It's such a funny thing. There's no good content. It's just hilarious.
It's just violent is what it is.
Even the violence is funny. You ever notice that blood, when they have blood on television, it looks like ketchup?
Yep.
And they got to make it thick because you can't pick it up with the cameras.
Well, in the original Night of the Living Dead, because it was black and white, they used Bosco chocolate syrup. So.
Yeah, I remember that. And also, do you know that The Exorcist, the lady that played The Exorcist, she's never been the same since she did the movie.
Yeah,
Her
Linda
career
Blair.
went in the toilet.
She took in too many things that she shouldn't be
And there were
playing with.
cameras that fell on people, and then there was all sorts of freaky stuff that happened.
Play
in
with
making that
things
movie.
you shouldn't mess with is all I can tell you.
Well, Peter Pan also had a problem.
Let's take a
And
commercial
Poltergeist also. had
break. Stay
horrible
tuned,
problems.
and we'll be right back.
Welcome to AMP2 TV, the first and only internet production company that's truly plugged in. When you're looking for a full-service internet radio, TV production company, discover AMP2 TV. AMP2 TV is a full-service media company that can provide all streaming videos, video studios, radio studios, and television studios. Call us today at 866-224-5422, for no business is too small to grow to be accounted. It's time for your message to be seen. Let AMP2 TV help get you there.
Stephanie Jaffe is a world-renowned artist who creates one-of-a-kind pieces. Using a keen sense of color and composition, her vibrant collages and mosaics integrate eclectic elements such as vintage keepsakes and fine china with blown glass and fired clay to create whimsical arrangements. For more information about her work, come down to the Brooklyn Cafe TV studio or go to StephanieJaffeArt.com.
Has someone in your family lost a job recently, and now you can't afford your mortgage payment? Or do you have a rental property and your tenants aren't paying you? We can come to the rescue and pay you cash for your home immediately. Yes, sell your home and get cash all over the phone without dealing with real estate agents or having to waste time showing your home to lukewarm buyers. You don't need to lose your house to foreclosure. If you have equity in your home, we'll buy your home and give you cash within days, all in a simple over-the-phone and virtual process. Call now before your situation gets worse. Sell a home you can't afford or just need anymore and get the cash you need today. Call this number now.
Call 855-348-5925. That's 855-348-5925. Again, 855-348-5925.
Tax audits, tax liens, wage garnishments.
Every day we hear stories like this about good folks who are simply struggling to pay their bills. Each of them are living a frightening IRS tax nightmare, and they are afraid it will destroy their lives.
I'm a divorced single mom, and my ex-husband left me and the kids with a lot of unpaid bills, including unpaid taxes. I was really starting to show my stress on my kids because the IRS had sent me a letter demanding a huge payment from me. I couldn't afford it. So then the IRS was threatening to garnish my wages. I'm already living paycheck to paycheck. That would have put me over the edge financially.
It truly seemed hopeless, but then a friend at work told her to call the tax relief line.
The people at the tax relief line, they told me about something called innocent spouse relief. They worked it out so that all of the taxes from my ex are not my problem. I don't know how that works, and I don't care. All I care about is that I don't owe the IRS a dime, and they are not going to take my paycheck.
Even if it seems hopeless, you should call the number on your screen right now. There is absolutely no cost for the call or the consultation. You are under no obligation. If you are worried that the IRS could garnish your wages, seize your assets, even take your home, call us right now. The Tax Relief Line is here to help you. Now, you have a knowledgeable, professional team of tax experts that are ready to negotiate with the IRS and fight for you to save you money. The Tax Relief Line's professionals have successfully negotiated thousands of cases, reducing and sometimes even eliminating the tax debt for their clients. It's very easy to get started. Simply call the number on your screen right now. You don't have to live in fear anymore. The call and the consultation are free.
If you served in the Marine Corps, by now you know about the contaminated water problem at Camp Lejeune. If you were stationed or worked at Camp Lejeune from 1953 to 1987, you probably have a lot of questions. We have some answers. You could be entitled to compensation. Billions of dollars are being allocated to pay for damages to anyone stationed at Camp Lejeune during that time. Unfortunately, it appears that officials may have known the contaminated water problem existed and did little to protect their men. The Semper Fi code was not honored. If you or someone in your family has developed a serious illness, including various forms of cancer, call this Camp Lejeune legal support line right now. You can't turn back the clock and change what happened, but you can certainly call right now and learn your rights as a Marine. Here's the number.
Call 855-993-2180. That's 855-993-2180. Again, 855-993-2180.
Come on down to the Brooklyn Cafe and enjoy our delicious 100% Arabica organic coffee. You can also tune into the Brooklyn Cafe show and have the chance to win a free bag. For more information on how to get your own bag, check us out at thebrooklyncafe.tv.
Do you enjoy watching the Brooklyn Cafe show? Well, now you can represent your admiration with our merchandise. We have amazing t-shirts in a variety of sizes for you and your friends. Shop now at brooklyncafe.tv/shop.
Hey Kaylee, what's up?
Hey, nothing, what's up?
Nothing, just looking for music for Grandpa I listen to while we're in the car.
What's wrong with listen to now?
Let's just say we have different tastes, you know?
Why don't you try listen to a podcast on Spotify?
Like which one?
The Brooklyn Cafe Studio one is really good.
Okay, I'll try that one out, thanks.
It's lunchtime and the Brooklyn Cafe is open for business. Live from the Amp Media Studios, Dawn and Freddie S. and their team are ready to serve up a huge portion of fun for lunch with friends and neighbors. So let's break open that lunch pail and unwrap that sandwich you brought. You've been watching the Brooklyn Cafe Show. Join us each day and after hours as we talk about the hot topics to open the conversations and share a few laughs. Now, back to Dawn and Freddie S.
Away from negativity.
And we're back.
You know, I can't even say what I want to say.
How you doing?
But you're the only one that has not tripped over that. So instead of watching us all trip and laugh, you could move it.
Where do you want me to move it
Imagine
to?
like if you were my father growing up.
Where do you want me to move it to?
Someplace other than where we should all trip on it. How about where he's doing the work?
That sounds great.
Yeah, thank you. Karen, to my rescue. Even Teddy tripped on it.
Look on the wall. We're hanging new art. We're changing the vibration.
Positive direction. Thank you, Karen.
Positive direction by our friend Johnny Melnick.
I trip over the wire.
So now what's going to happen is he's going to trip over it. And you know that could be bad news when he trips. You saw what happened. Not you, him.
No, I put it way away.
He'd rather watch all of us trip instead.
You know, you...
Dawn, Teddy, and he tripped on the toolbox. Now Arthur tripped.
Dawn tripped more than once. How do you do that more
Lola
than once?
watched me. And then coffee went all over the floor. Anyway, we got the rest of our show we got to chit chat
Let's
about.
do that. We got 2 more guests.
We've got Mike Velarde joining us. He is host of Mike the Money Coach and Meet the Experts. And Mike is tax man, saves you money, all things money. And what a great show he did last night. I have to tell you, for production and production value, what Josh and the producers put together for Mike's show last night was amazing. So I wanted Mike to be able to share with our audience what he does. I know we just paid, well, some of us just paid taxes. Others of us took the extension. And Mike's like, no, as of January 1st, you're all paying interest. So he's probably appalled right now that some of us, like me, even took an extension.
No, I ended up paying. But what was funny about last night is that Mike took us to another level. So Josh came up with this idea with a green screen, and and he'll explain what he was doing. But that wasn't the bit. The funny thing was he came from the stage, he went over there, and now he has to work like the weatherman to point on the green screen. Not easy, my friend. No. And it's funny because when you see people do the weather, you think that's easy? That is not. And they have a clicker, the people that do the weather. They change the screens. He has somebody change the screen for him. Okay, so I was sitting right there, I'm taking pictures, because I wanted to see how long Mike would do that for. But he was a good sport, and you got it done.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
So I'm glad you're here with us.
I'm glad to be here with you. It's
And I
always a
heard
pleasure.
Karen asked you, what do you do? So explain, what do you do?
Well, let me explain my background a little, and I was an IRS criminal investigator for 22 years. I retired from the IRS in 2010, became an IRS enrolled agent, which means I represent people before the IRS. If you have an IRS issue, I'm the guy you'd call. And like you were saying before, what people don't realize is that we have a pay-as-you-go system, a tax system. So technically your taxes are due the end of December, not April 15th when you file your return. So if they're not paid by then, they will hit you with penalties and interest.
From December to April?
Yes, they will. Mm-hmm.
If you owe.
Right, you'll get a failure to pay penalty because you didn't pay it timely, and then you'll get interest on the penalties. The IRS is absolutely brutal when it comes to collecting money. See, when you sign a tax return, you signed under what's called the penalties of perjury. It's called a jurat. And when you tell the IRS that you owe them money, you just told the IRS that it's no longer your money, it's theirs. So if you owe them $10,000 and you got $10,000 sitting in a bank account, they have the legal right to take the $10,000 from you because you told them it was their money.
So you should never tell them you owe them money.
Good. Good analysis. That's right. You should always make sure that your IRS bill is fully paid before you file your tax return. And if you have to send in a check in February to do it or January to do it, you do it so you avoid the penalties.
What about 1099 self-employed people who...
What about them?
How is it easier for them instead of when it's time to do their taxes, they have to pay back to the IRS 5, 10, 15,000 from what they made that year?
So here's what you should do. It's called a pay-as-you-go system. So when you get the money from the 1099, as soon as you get the money, you should give 20% of it to the IRS. Do estimated tax payments to the IRS so that at the end of the year, you're not shocked with the tax bill. Because being on a 1099 is really brutal because you have to pay both halves of the Social Security, the employer portion and the employee portion of the Social Security tax. So you pay both. And as a result of paying both, that's like 13% in and by itself. Then you add your federal tax, which will be anywhere between 12 and 22%. Could be higher if you're in a higher bracket. And you have a whopping tax bill.
But let me ask you a question. If I do my estimated tax and I give the government
Chelsea,
monies,
can you open that camera,
and then
please?
all of a sudden, at the end of April when I file,
I need a 2-shot.
I don't owe the money. They owe me money.
Yep.
Are they going to send me the money back?
Yes, they will. You could either take it as you can do one of two things with that money. What I always do is I roll part of it over to the following year. So in other words, if they owe me $2,000, I'll give them $1,500 for next year, and take a $500
what about
check.
interest? Am I allowed to say, yo, you have my money? Can I, watch? That's why I tell you not to do that.
Yes.
Watch.
Interest is statutory.
So who owns the interest? Who gets the interest?
Well, after a certain period of time, if they're holding your refund money, they will pay you interest on it. And when you get your treasury check, it'll denote the part of the interest that was paid to you. It'll be on the check. It's a small line on the check telling you, $41.16 of this is interest.
So they actually do give you interest?
They have to give you interest, right? It's statutory. Like you have to pay them interest, they have to pay you interest. The rate is based on the Treasury, the 90-day Treasury. So whatever that is, it's plus a point or something. So it's based on current market rates, based on what the Fed's funds rate, is. That's how it's based.
You help people save money on taxes. You were telling me
do.
about a client you had whose husband passed away, and she really didn't know what
Yes.
next to do
Yes.
as far as filing. And you
Yes.
went in and you helped her with some tax strategies.
Yes. Yes.
So people can call you before. Are you the phone call before the accountant? Or are you the phone call between the accountant and the IRS?
Definitely before you file. But yeah, in that particular case that you're talking about, yeah, her accountant gave her a $7,600 tax bill, but I gave her a $5,700 refund. And how did I do that? Well, it's very simple. The husband had died, and there was about almost $70,000 worth of money that he had paid into his pension that he was never given a deduction for. So we took the deduction in the year of death. And as a result of taking it in the year of death, it made a difference between being her owing money and her getting money back.
That's huge.
I got to tell you,
Imagine having a $70,000 pension that
he has bigger cases than
you
that.
never took tax credit
He has
on?
huge cases. The bottom line is, if you have a situation with the IRS, you got to call Mike. Don't do nothing. This I learned from him.
Yeah.
Don't say nothing. Right. Don't do nothing, because the moment you say something, they're gonna get you on that.
Yeah.
Call him. Yeah. Call him, and let him work the system for you. Yeah. And don't panic. Yeah. That's the first thing. If people panic and go, hey, IRS, I'm sorry. How much do I owe you? Or can I pay it over the next 200 years? Yeah. I mean.
Well, here's another tax tip that people don't know. If you go into an IRS office, there'll be a sign up, and you got to look for it. But they have to tell you. But people don't notice that you're being recorded. Everything you say is recorded by the IRS at the IRS office. Now, if you tell them to turn off the recorder, they must do so. And they'll tell you that they're recording you for purposes, so that if there's ever a dispute, you could, they have proof of what the IRS lady said and what you said. But I find that you'll probably get a little bit better service if there's no recording that's happening.
You can ask them, and they'll turn it off?
Yes, you ask them to turn it off, and they have to turn it off. Because sometimes you might say something inadvertently, and now you just gave information to the IRS that you probably don't want them to have.
I think Arthur has a question for you.
I had that happen with a client one time.
So deductions.
Yes.
Can you roll over deductions? Or if you miss deduction?
Roll over?
Well, so let's say in 2021, I forgot to take some deductions. Do I have to refile for 2021, or can I roll them over to 2022?
You could. I mean, your best bet, depending on what they are. I mean, you asked me a very general question.
Sure.
See your accountant, and he'll be able to tell you. Sometimes you should be able to roll it over to 2022.
Okay.
But depending on what they are again, so.
Yeah, no, I get that. I'm
And
just
if they're
saying that-
allowable, because sometimes the law changes.
Sure.
2021 it was allowed.
Assuming that
2022
it's
it's not.
allowable,
Yes.
number one. Number two, that
Absolutely.
you missed it or
oh,
you
oh.
had more deductions than you really
Yeah.
needed, you could roll them over.
Always give yourself the benefit of the doubt.
Okay.
Okay? Always.
People panic
Okay.
though. You hear IRS and you panic.
Of course.
Because you think it's government, it's money.
Right.
And it's just those three initials. You get something in the mail, you panic.
Well, it's a frightening thing. I mean, there's, now that Joe Biden has, passed the law funding 87,000 new agents over the next 10 years, 5,000 of which have already been hired, that means there's going to be a lot more correspondence between the general public and the Internal Revenue Service. Now, just for those who don't know, there's three types of audits. There's three ways the IRS can audit you. The first is called a correspondence audit, and this is the most common. That's when they send a letter in the mail. That letter in the mail will say, hey, you didn't put this on your return. We have information that you did not provide for us, and you have 30 days to dispute that information. If you dispute it, fine, it'll go away. There's been many times where the IRS has been wrong, and I've helped clients, straighten that out. If you do not dispute it, 30 days after you get the letter, they make an assessment against you, and they will send you an additional tax bill. That tax bill will not only be just the taxes, it'll include a failure to pay penalty and interest on that. So that's the first type of audit. The second is when they say to you, they send you a letter saying, hey, we picked you out for audit. Can you please come to the office? And you go to office audit, and they'll go through your return. Okay.
Now, do you go with people too that if
Yes,
they hire you?
absolutely. Yes, that's part of my job. Part of what I do is represent people in an audit. And third is usually for bigger companies is when the IRS agent comes out to you. So like my father was an IRS agent for 35 years, and like he did an audit of Entleman's. He was there for like 2 months going through all their books and records and stuff like that, making sure everything was properly done. So those are the three types of audit. Now, what President Biden has so kindly done is he's hiring a ton of people to do those audits and office audits and, of course, beef up the correspondence audits. So they're going to take the audit rate from something like 1 in 450 to like 1 in 60. Okay? That's their goal. So they want to look at a lot more people. They want to squeeze you for that tax dollar so that we can spend it on Ukraine and other foolish things. But that's what's happening.
People can call you, and you will help them
Yes.
get through that paperwork, understand
Absolutely.
what you're looking at. You tell me there's some line items that in tax code, everything is legal in tax code, that you understand there's some loopholes on things.
Yes, of course.
That people are looking for.
Yeah.
It's all legal because it's all in our tax law.
Right.
You just got to call you.
Yeah, the tax code is 3 times the size of a Bible, and it changes every year. So yeah, there's a lot in it.
Now, I had some friends, because we've had Mike with us for a certain number of years, and they call and they says, oh, I don't need to call Mike because I take my attorney.
Right.
The problem is that attorneys don't know the tax law.
No, they don't.
Right.
No.
So I'm standing there and I'm talking to this
Right.
guy, and I said, well, what kind of attorney is this
Right.
guy, right? Oh, he's a divorce attorney.
Right. Right.
I says, did you marry the IRS? He says, no, Freddie lost the law. No, it's not.
No, it's not.
And people think that if you're an attorney, that gives you carte blanche to represent.
I had a
the
tax
situation.
attorney as a client, and he hired me, and I was able to save him $250,000 by getting his bill past the 10-year statute of limitations. And he, he paid me well, but he knew that I could do a better job than he could, because every attorney knows if you go represent yourself, you got to fool for a client.
Right.
And so I was able to, to get him past the goal line. And, so I guess that says a lot. I have tax attorneys that come to me for help.
Well, you also know the judges. You know a lot of the things that
His
happen.
dad was an IRS agent for 35 years.
My father was.
Well, you know the
unbelievable.
players. I found out recently from Linda's daughter that if you know the judges, you know the players, you know the court system of what's going on, it's like us that we know who we can do certain things with people that you interview.
Sure.
And if you don't know the system, and you go into the system cold and they don't know you,
Right.
I'm gonna tell you right now,
Right.
you better call this guy.
Right.
Because
I
the
do have a
game
lot of
changes
contacts.
right in front of you.
It's true.
Right?
No, true. Absolutely. I still have a lot of connections there, and it does make a difference. And when you're a former IRS employee, they do give you a little more credence, especially over an attorney or an accountant. So you can get more done for clients. You can.
I have a question.
Yes.
Is all money taxable?
No.
Okay, because like if someone wins a lottery, they do pay taxes
Yes.
on that. But if someone passes away and leaves you an inheritance, that money doesn't get taxed.
Right. I think there's a limit of if it's less than 5 million or something like that.
Insurance money is not taxable.
Insurance is not taxable, right?
Okay.
But if you buy a house and you sell that house, you got capital gains tax.
Well, that depends. If you're married, you get a $500,000 exclusion. So if you made $1 million on your house and then you take $500,000 by another house, then you keep the other $500,000 for yourself tax-free.
But also the expenses you have to add
Yes,
to the
you're right,
$500,000.
right, you
Now,
gotta-
what if you
it's your
live with
basis.
somebody for 12, 15 years?
That it doesn't matter how long you live with somebody; it doesn't enter into the equation because you're not filing a joint tax return.
Unless the two names are on the deed.
Well, if they're on the deed, then you would split the cost.
$250 each.
You get two
$250
separate.
each.
You get two
It's-
separate.
It's all the little nuances.
But your name, both the names have to be on
Right.
the deed.
And you get a $250,000 exclusion
Each.
Each, right?
Kind of like it.
As long as it's your primary residence, right? If it's an investment property, then it changes everything.
Changes the
Then you
game.
got to file a Schedule E. You get to take depreciation while you're renting it, but when you sell it, of course, you get the full capital gain.
And you host two shows. I want people to realize
Yes.
Mike hosts a show called Meet the Experts, or
Yes.
every Thursday night he hosts a show. He brings in the experts. He talks about a variety of things.
Yep.
But then you got this great opportunity now to be on TV.
Yes.
From Mike the Money Coach.
Yes.
And I got to tell you, he took Meet the Experts to Mike the Money Coach to
Another
a whole
level.
nother level.
Yeah.
You and I just sit there and go, wow, it's beyond our pay grade. We needed to bring Josh in on this one.
I was listening to what he talked about yesterday, which was terrific. I don't even know if we're allowed. Are we allowed to talk about this?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, what you showed with Norwegian Cruise Lines last night,
Yeah.
the graphs
Yeah.
that
Went
in,
to the
in
toilet and it came
2021 we
up.
were up and then it plummeted.
Yeah.
And you're like, well, that was the time to buy it when
That's
it
right.
plummeted because
Right.
you knew it had to go back up.
Right.
How did
and
you?
I did.
This is more than taxes,
did
though. This is really
Right.
investments and money. You do all of this?
Yeah, well, now I'm getting more back into the investment side of it. I mean, I was very fortunate because, when you see the opportunity, that's the time to act. And I knew, look, with COVID, nobody was going on cruises. So that cost the cruise lines a fortune. The stocks totally plummeted. But we also knew COVID was going to end and people were going to start going back on cruises, and that's what happened. And so when the stock went from 12 to 28 or whatever, I bailed because I said that's about right. You don't want to be a pig either. You know what I'm saying? You want to ride it for a good. I mean, Exxon, when oil went down to below 0 and down to 40, I started buying Exxon like crazy, and then more than
And it's
doubled my
risen
money
now.
and took it. Now it's still high. I bought it again, but yes, you got to see where the opportunities are, and you got to invest, and you got to be able. But you got to know. And yesterday, what I taught on the show was the number one technique for making money in the stock or commodity markets, and it's worked time and time again over the last 150 years, maybe longer, and people could see it clearly on the graph. I mean, you're able to see it and go, oh yeah, I see that, and that makes sense. But what happens is, and this happened to me when I, you're taught you buy low, sell high, right? And then you go into a market like we did in 1995, starting in late 94, where it just kept going higher and higher and higher and higher. And if you knew enough or smart enough to buy strength, you made a frickin' fortune. And so when you study, and that's what the money show's about, what did the people who accumulated the most wealth in the markets, how did they do it? What were their techniques? And if you can duplicate what they did, it'll still work today. Because human nature hasn't changed.
Sure.
Okay? So when do you want something? You want something when it's there. I mean, look at homes in Florida. People are moving here. Why? Because it's a free state. There's no income tax, right? The weather's great. There's a lot of reasons to be here. What happened to the real estate market the last couple of years?
Went through the roof.
The rent. The price of rentals went up 42% in Palm Beach County.
The rentals are crazy. You're better off to buy than rent.
Yeah.
Well, the bottom line is like everything and anything. It goes up, comes down, goes up, comes down. The object of the game is to figure out when, how, where, and why.
Right.
If you can figure that out, then you're a genius.
Right.
You know, it's like anything else. You trade a player who is doing not so well on one team, and then he becomes a great player on the next team. Then you look like a hero.
Right, exactly.
But what I like about what Mike does is that he gives you the opportunity to make your decision. Right. He said, listen, this is what the formula will show you, and then you decide whether or not you want to do it. He's not telling you have to do it. It's up to you.
Right.
But I get mad when people make the right move. They take a shot. They make the money, and they're sitting back and saying, I'm doing all right. And then the next guy who did not take the shot says, you got lucky, like bitter.
Right.
And why would that happen? Why would you be bitter? You had the same opportunity to do it, and you have a chance now to see it. How do people see the show?
It's going to be coming out on a new channel, a new Roku channel. So I will have to give you more information on
As
that
it goes?
when the channel comes out. It's called the Coach Channel. It'll be featured on a channel called the Coach Channel, which will be on Roku, and I will make sure that you have your information and we can give it to.
So we could tell people about it.
But in the meantime, you can tune in on Thursdays to Meet the Experts with Mike
Yes.
Velarde.
Absolutely.
And he just makes our until last night we had to take it to another level. But you come in and you're prepared and you know what you want to say and how you want to say it, and not that it's scripted, but you know where you're going with your shows.
He scares me. He comes in with like data
He's comfortable
and
though
books
with money
and stuff.
But
he
you see the
burns dollar
difference?
bills.
Right.
He does all sorts of magic tricks.
But here's the difference. We do a lot of spirituality and a lot of shows about mindset, and a lot of people come in with this lack mindset of money. I don't have it, I can't get it, I need to do this, I don't know how to find clients. And then you come in with this open money concept of, all right, I gotta monetize it. Right. I'll get a sponsor, and you get a sponsor.
Yeah.
I got another show, I got a sponsor for that. IRS problem? It's okay, call Mike, he'll take care of the money. Right. It's change in mindset towards money, which is incredible, maybe because your father was always part of it, that's how you grew up.
Well, yeah, I've been very fortunate because I never dreamed in my life, in all honesty, that my entire adult life pretty much would be the Internal Revenue Service. Okay?
Who dreams that?
Okay.
That's more of a nightmare.
I mean, but the IRS is like my life, so some people might think that's sad, but it's
scary.
it's worked out for me. I mean, you know, I remember I was working for the Ford Motor Company as an executive, and they were going to cut back. And they had forecast that hard economic times were coming in the early 90s. This was in the late 80s. And it kind of scared me. They said they were going to take our cars, our expense account, leave us in the office just calling dealers, and I just didn't want that. So I said, where should I go? And I talked to my father, and of course the government made the most sense. Where would you want to work in hard economic times? You know the government's not going under. Although, we might, you know.
We're questions sometimes.
Of course, at the time, they
At the
weren't going to
time,
go under. So he told me about the special agent's job, which was, you know, the IRS guys that carry the guns, you know. And I thought about it. I said, well, there's two reasons why I'm going to take this job. One, I'm going to have a badge to get out of speeding tickets with because I always speed. And that turned out to be true. I've gotten stopped about 60 times since and never got a speeding ticket. And two, I could retire at 50. And that's what I did. I retired
I thought you were
at
going to
50.
say because I get to carry a gun.
Yeah. Well, the carrying a gun, yeah, that didn't so much play into it, but that's also another benefit is that I can carry a gun in any state.
So how many years did you do that?
I was a special agent for 22 years.
Wow.
Yeah. And I mean, I had a very interesting career. I mean, for about 10 years, I was detailed to the Secret Service about 2 weeks a year. When the UN came in, they needed extra people to do the dignitary protection. And I have just a host of stories about working with the Secret Service. that were, that was a real cool thing. And you got to stay at the Waldorf, because they put you off at the hotel where the dignitaries are. So, it was good. It was a great, as long as the guy didn't get assassinated, it was phenomenal, So I worked on the Joint Terrorism Task Force after 9/11. I was a 9/11 responder. I did a lot of organized crime stuff, a lot of, developing cases on organized crime figures, which was kind of funny. I developed a case on a guy that was a hitman for the Gambino crime family, and nobody in the office would take the case.
I can't
Nobody took
Wonder
the case.
why? Why is that?
Right. So we had to send it to civil because nobody wanted to work it. But it was a great career, but what's more fulfilling is being on the other side, knowing everything from the systems and how they work, and then being able to help people.
See, that's the biggest
Yeah, because
reward,
you
right?
change people's lives.
You change people's lives. You get
Yeah.
them out of fear and panic.
Yeah.
That there's actually hope.
Yeah. Where I'm moving in Ocala, there's a guy, and he's 67 years old, and he's working at McDonald's because his accountant did his taxes, and he owed $30,000. Well, I showed him how to redo his taxes, so he's going to get $30,000 back, okay? Because his accountant just didn't know. And, that's what happens. But, now
But is that forgivable if your accountant doesn't know? Don't they hold that against you?
Well, no, see, here's what you have to understand about most accountants. They're licensed by the IRS. They're afraid of the IRS. They'd rather make you pay a little more money, right, than have to worry about the IRS coming after them. So as a result, it's no skin off their teeth if you pay the IRS more money.
Gotcha.
And especially if they don't know how to fight the IRS or defend against the IRS.
Well, that's the other thing. A lot of people don't want to fight the IRS. They'll say, "Okay, just pay. Don't worry about it. Looks right."
Right, exactly.
They don't want to get. They don't want to get. You don't want to tangle with the
It
IRS.
depends on how much it is. If in your mind it sounds like a reasonable amount that you can handle, then you do.
Right.
But then there's the other amounts that you think you owe $30,000, and you don't. You're working at McDonald's, and you're like, where am I
Right.
going to? How
Right.
could I own
That's
$30,000?
more money
if
than
work
I
at
make. How
McDonald's?
can that be?
Yeah.
Gotta call Mike.
Well, right.
The show is
Right,
fantastic.
exactly. Yeah.
I was listening to you, and I had another question come
This
up.
one must
with-
be loaded with money somewhere.
No,
it's a
with-
tax problem.
No, nowadays, there's a lot of people who are 1099, self-employed. What's the best way of investing? Is it the home buying and Airbnb that is making people more money now? Is it buying a car and Uber?
Well, you see that's a kind of loaded question, because if you buy the right stocks, you can make a fortune in the stock markets. If you see a trend in the commodity market and you have good technique, you can make a fortune in the commodity markets. If you buy real estate in the right areas, you make a fortune in the real estate. So it's talking about how much money do you have to invest, and what kind of risk parameters are you willing to risk in order to make the money?
Karen, we'll
'cause
talk
there's-
about your futures in this.
Mike, do you speak Spanish?
Not yet.
You dabble.
Yeah, a little bit.
You speak a little bit,
little
so
bit, yeah.
I'm thinking, Karen, you should interview Mike on your show.
Yeah, let's go
For-
Latino Bay.
Yeah, we could do Spanglish.
Because there's a lot of interesting information that you're sharing that is like, wow.
That's the other thing. There's a lot of Hispanics that they fill out their taxes. And I'm going to tell you something. When you're Latino and you fill out your taxes, you want nothing to do with the IRS or the FBI or the CIA. Those three letters, when you put them together, spell trouble.
It's like,
And they go, I owe what? Here's my kid, here's my car.
I got to tell you a funny story about that. My ex-wife is Puerto Rican. She's Spanish, right? Well, her accountant made a mistake on her tax return. She gets a $20,000 bill from the IRS. Okay. Now, of course, before this, she would hardly pick up the phone for me. It all go to
Well, now
voicemail.
she's going to call you and make you dinner.
You know what I mean? So I said to her, listen, he made a mistake. Let me handle it. So, and what happened was the house in New York went into foreclosure because I couldn't pay all the bills here and there. And she got a 1099-C for the cancellation of the debt. But there's an exemption if it's your primary residence that wipe it out. So, of course, she was living there. So our accountant didn't do it right, didn't do the form, didn't fill it out. So I do the form, I send it into the IRS. She gets a new bill. instead of $20,000, $50.99. Okay. And you know what's amazing? Ever since then, she picks up the phone for me when I call. You know? I mean, right? And she wrote me a really good Yelp
I'm
review.
surprised she didn't ask you to marry her again.
Yeah, right.
Amazing. Mike,
Yeah.
we always love having you. I'm glad that you're in the process of moving, but you're here for the
Yes.
week. Got to bring him in more often.
We do, because we should have held court for people that were doing their taxes and having a hard time. Come and talk to Mike.
Yeah.
Because if you know going in the strategies and you know what's going on, bring your accountant with you. He'll work with them. And we should have done it earlier. I didn't think about that.
Yeah, because sometimes, you know, what the IRS will do, and this is something people don't realize, if you don't file a tax return, the IRS will sometimes file for you. And one of my clients, you know, Bert, who did the commercial, that's what the IRS did to him. And they sent him a $145,000 tax bill. Okay? And at 76 years old, they were taking half his Social Security.
Right.
And I was able to get them to stop taking the Social Security. We filed an original return and got him a $17,000 refund. Wiped out the whole $145,000.
Wow.
Well, and how did that happen? Well, very simple. The IRS, when you just see stock sale, you sold something for $1,000, they're going to tax you on $1,000. But that could have cost you $1,100 to buy. So unless you put the return in, they won't know that.
They only
And
see
in
the
his case,
gains.
that's what
Yeah.
happened. So we wiped out everything. So if that happens to you, please call me, because you don't want a bill that you don't really have to pay.
No, and trust me, if you're Latino, don't go and hide under a coconut
Right,
tree.
exactly.
Call this man. You know, some people, the way they just say yes because they don't think they have any means and they don't want to go down this road.
Exactly.
But Mike will take all that fear away. What's the phone number? Yes.
How accurate TurboTax and all these programs?
Well, I know when I worked at the IRS, there were some glitches in TurboTax. Free Tax USA is a better program to use.
Free tax.
Yeah, and yes, it's a better program. There's a lot of There's a lot of different ones. Right. There were some glitches in TurboTax. Now this goes back years. This goes back to 2008, 2009. I'm sure they probably worked them out, but I know Free Tax USA has had no problems. And
Mike,
that's
you don't do taxes for people, though.
I don't prepare returns.
So if I have an accountant and I want to go over it with you,
you can go over
you
with
can
me,
do
yeah.
that. So you can have your accountant and then have Mike go over it if you think that there's a problem with there, or if you're paying a bill that you've never seen before.
Well, what if you're doing your own taxes? Can you send it to Mike?
Yeah, I'll charge you a small fee to look at it.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, I gotta tell
I think
you,
my kids need that.
Yeah.
Everybody could
because
use
there's things that people miss. Like one really simple thing is, and this you could take this deduction. Let's say you're going to owe the IRS $2,000, right? But you know you're going to get hit with the penalties and interest, right? But before you file the tax return, right, on April 15th, you can go and put that $5,000 or $6,000 in an IRA, and then that becomes a tax deduction. And when you take that tax deduction away from you wipe out your liability.
Gosh, I want your brain.
Yeah. So that's
You
one of
get
those
to retain
last-minute
your money,
deductions.
so that $2,000 really goes
But
back.
it is interesting because I know for a fact there's so many accountants out there that don't know tax law, that they go, yeah, we'll fill it out, but they don't know if you don't know if you're getting all the deductions you're supposed to get, or if it's being filed properly, or any of that.
Right. I mean, listen. There's There's different type of accountants too. You know, there's some might have worked for the IRS, might have more knowledge than others, and some are just tax preparers that run it through a program like TurboTax or something more sophisticated to do more stuff for you. But
Yeah. Okay, so how do I download what you have in your head?
You call me at 631-220-8088, and we start the download process from there.
Awesome. Thanks, Mike.
That's amazing. Mike, thank you, as always, for joining us.
Meet the experts. How do people call you to get in touch with you?
Well, certainly, next Thursday, when we do next Thursday, right? Not this Thursday, next Thursday, when we do Meet the Experts,
here.
we'll have a live call-in from 7:30.
Come down and talk to Mike.
Right, and you could call in the number, and certainly, but you could call me at 631-278-9116, 631-278-9116, and leave a message, or I'll pick up the phone and I'll help you.
And that show airs on True Oldies, who happen to have just walked in the door.
True Oldies in the house.
In the house. So welcome. Everyone is doing great. We've got Arthur's show, Wisdom Cafe, coming to you in about an hour. What are we talking about this week, Arthur?
Oh, let's change things.
Oh, let's.
How's that?
Okay.
You want to change yourself?
Sure.
I want to. Change is good, depending on how you do it.
You want to talk about change?
Yeah.
Let's change it up.
Change is something we talked about yesterday. That why are we here?
You threw out a whole lot of lobs on that one.
So it was a good conversation.
Do we really have choice? We talked about. You and I did 5 shows yesterday.
Yeah. I had no choice.
You pretty much had no choice.
Mike, I have a quick question.
Yes.
Is it ever going to be the future when the taxes are going to be kind of incorporated in every sales to minimize all this headache and get rid of the IRS?
You know,
it's so confusing and so overwhelming that it's just so
Yes.
fear-based and so inhumane.
And that's by design. Okay?
Of
The reason the code is the way it is, because it benefits certain people that donate to certain politicians. And politicians put in the code different deductions to benefit the people that are supporting them and keep them in office. That's why when I ran for Congress, I was big on term limits, because the problem is once you get people in, the absolute power will corrupt you absolutely. So you need to be able to limit the power that the Congress and the senators have, and the only way to do that is make sure that they can only serve for a certain amount of time. You could have something like a national sales tax of like 8 or 9%, and it'll pay all the bills. The problem is the politicians keep spending more and more money, and we saw this especially the last few years. We'll go back from 2008. The debt was something like $7-8 trillion. Now it's $30 trillion. Why? They just keep spending. Why? Because they benefit those that are donating to their campaigns. I mean, you cannot win a congressional race unless you have about $2 million. That's what it takes to win a congressional race. How many people have that? I mean, when I ran for Congress, I had the ability, the skill, won all the debates, did all that, had a great platform. But I didn't have the ability to get my message out because I only raised $60,000. Okay, so unless you can go, you need millions. Now, somebody like Nancy Pelosi, when she ran 2 years ago, you know how much money she raised? $27 million. Now that's
I can't
probably
even raise $1.50 for a cup of coffee.
Right. now
and I'll put my brains up against hers any day of the week.
And that's probably the safest seat in the country because it's all liberal, right? So no one's going to unseat her. But why did she raise so much money? Because she was directing the agenda as the Speaker of the House, what was going to pass, get through, and not get through. And there's so much pork, and if we don't get rid of the pork, what are we paying for, to keep these politicians in office? That's not what our founding fathers had in mind.
Right.
Well,
I often said that what we should do is we should take 4 or 5 buses, bring them down to D.C., put all of the congressmen, all the representatives on the bus, send them home, and not allow them back on the bus to come back. And hire some new people.
There's an easier way to do that than taking buses. Just vote. You don't want the guy there, then vote him out. Vote, but don't, we can't say, poor me, poor us, how do we get change if we continue to put these people into power? I mean, you have no one to blame but yourself.
Yeah,
Are they powerful people? Yes.
But most people don't read about who they are.
But it's interesting you say that. This gentleman actually brought somebody in this studio that ran against a very powerful person. And we'll leave it there.
In Palm Beach County,
In Palm Beach, and he almost won.
Yep.
He was short a couple of thousand votes, I think it was,
I don't know if it was that many.
Maybe not that many.
Yeah.
And I'm going to tell you something. Now that person is keeping an eye out, because I guarantee you the next time it will lose.
Right.
It will lose. But I'm going to tell you something. He made a little bit of noise, and if he had made more noise, which you might, I think he would have won.
Yep.
He decided to go with somebody else to make some noise. That really didn't work. This made noise for him. He should have stayed here to do it.
Ready to wrap this up?
No, let's say hi to Oldies.
Say hi to True Oldies in the house.
How's everybody doing?
How you doing? How you doing? Just grab your mic.
Grab that microphone. Now, he used to be an actor.
I can tell.
Wow, a starving one.
A starving actor. Is
Yes.
it it?
Can you hear me?
Yes. And it's funny because True Oldies, Mike is going, this is now his region. We get to talk to him a little bit.
David.
I mean, David.
I was gonna say, I
I'm
don't
looking
think-
at Mike and talking to David. It's been
What's
a
up, Mike?
long day, David. And he's going to be helping us get the words out and things of that nature that, I mean, I've been with True Oldies, I've been with that
been
radio
with the
station,
station.
entering my 20th year.
Wow.
Wow.
So
20 years.
Me and Jody know each other way back from the Beasley days. But this is now bigger and better and more powerful, so I just wanted to welcome David to the
Thank you. I really appreciate it. It was very warming. Thank you.
Welcome. True Oldies, gosh, it's been since December? July? That the whole platform changed to True Oldies. And it's growing and growing, and they
Our
merged
base
a
is
couple
growing.
stations together, and a lot of presence. So if we can help you and get you in touch with True Oldies, advertising on the Real Radio, yes, Real Radio, it still works. Still the biggest platform for your message to be heard.
multi-billion-dollar platform. If you can't afford television, do radio.
Or call us, we can get you both.
Well, we could do both.
But best of both worlds. We get you the TV side, and then we get you over to David at True Oldies.
Well, it's interesting because
Radio
Mike
works.
is here. Mike is
Yeah.
actually working the TV side now, and Mike is actually working the radio,
radio
side
side.
now. Mike is working both sides, and he's in demand, right? We're talking about he's in demand. You just got to work on his green screen effect.
We had a bigger one that just came in for you, so we're good.
Be easier.
Ready to wrap it up?
Ready to wrap it up.
All right. Have a great afternoon, everyone. Thank you for tuning in. Wow, from music to money. What a Wednesday.
And from money to music.
And from money to music, and then we're moving on to some wisdom. We'll see you tomorrow, 9 a.m. drive time.
Don't be late.
Bye-bye.
Well, that's about it for today. Even though the show's over, the Brooklyn Cafe is always open for business. You're invited to join the fun every day from 12 to 2. If you missed some of the laughs from today, Dawn and Freddie S. will bring you more good cheer next time. You can follow the Brooklyn Cafe on Facebook at the Brooklyn Cafe TV to rewatch every minute of the show. We'll see you next time.